Okay, here goes a Blackwing layer guide. Here's how you enter the dungeon. Da-dum! First boss is Razorgore. You can expect this to be about a 10-minute fight. You want to break your raid into 4 groups. Assign a mitigation tank and a buddy to do the mind control on Razorgore. The mind control guy needs to wait for the destroy egg casting timer to finish before moving Razorgore, and continually reapply the mind control buff by clicking the orb after the channel is finished. They want to only click the orb after at least 1 minute for the debuff to fade, or about every 9 eggs you need to reapply the mind control buff for Razorgore. For your 4 groups that are on each side of the room, you're going to kill the adds that spawn from these pillars in this order: the casters, or Blackwing mages, then the dragons, and then the legionnaires. Hunters can use the slowing traps around the spawning area to make sure that the mobs don't come and attack the guy mind controlling. Your mind control partner, or for us, we have a shadow priest. They'll want to use a power word shield on the guy and use psychic scream to make sure the adds don't attack him. So before breaking the last 2 or 3 eggs, you want to call a collapse to this area around the orb. You can line of sight the fireball volley of Razorgore by standing in this corner. So that's where you want to go when you got about 2 eggs left. That would be about 20-30 seconds. The 2 tanks, for us it's going to be Findraga and Laris. You're going to position Razorgore in front of the orb so that melee and range can use that corner of the platform to line of sight it. So tank it right about here. So you'll be facing the corner, and Razorgore will be somewhere around here. So maybe like right on this edge. This will be a good spot. Next, so priests, you'll probably need a fade during the transition, or you may pick up healing aggro. The off tank, you'll want to pick up Razorgore when the main tank gets conflagrate. The conflagrate's applied to anyone in front of him in a cone. It'll do high fire damage around that person that's conflagrated. There's also an AoE cleave from Razorgore, so if you're hurt in melee range, go back to the orb corner and bandage. Warlocks, you can use Void Walkers if you're SM Ruin for sustain. But don't spend too much mana cursing the adds that die fast. An alternate strategy requires the warriors to pick up the legionnaires that are spawning, and you'll want to run up. You pick up the legionnaires using Demo Shout or Hamstring, any kind of abilities to draw a threat. And then you run up the ramp and then jump off halfway through. Then you'd run down to the other side and do the same configuration. So always go up the right hand side of the ramp. And if that needs to be done, then you can actually mind control the bottom of the orb, like right here. But otherwise, you can mind control it from the top using Findraga. So let's go ahead and do that. That's about all there is here. He does the AoE fire, and you got to break 30 eggs. I'm going to go ahead and kill the boss. So generally, you want the 2 far groups to go over there when the controller gets to about 50% health. Alright, so I'm going to bust open 9 eggs and then re-mind control. I'll show you how to do that. This is your destroy egg. I'll go ahead and okay, so now re-mind control. Boom. I got him again. I can do 9 more. It's 18 eggs. Then click on the Orb Dominion, recast. that was 9. So you gotta click on the orb again, recast. So now you would call collapse. Everyone would get over there. Now these are going to be a 10-second cooldown in Classic. So now he's over there and everybody else is grouped up here. And the tank can pick him up right on this corner. See, I avoided his range fireball. There's his AoE cleave. The tank picks him up right about here. Oh, there's his AoE stun, war stomp. The tank will need to be healed a lot to that. So just stand here. Let's see if I get conflagrated. Conflagrate. So AoE volley. Should be able to avoid it over there. Boom, conflagrate. So now the off tank needs to pick it up. If a DPS has threat on it, then you got to use a limited invulnerability potion and run into the tank spot. So once he picks it up, then you can have the off tank pick it up, and they can stand right about here. That should be enough room for melee. Let's see. Might even be able to tank him just right here. That might even be fine. Don't have to bring him too far away. So then the melee has a closer run in and out. The only problem is if he's right here. Yeah, you should be able to line of sight him. Okay, that's it for Razor Gore. Moving on to the next fight. Oh, we got best in slot. So for some reason there's like some goblins in here. I guess they just run away, so you don't really need to fight them at all.
Your ally here attempted to match his power against mine, and paid the price. Now he shall serve me by slaughtering you. Get up, little red worm, and destroy them.
Yeah, so it looks like the goblins just disappear. You don't actually attack them. So let's go over Veilstroth. When the fight starts, the raiders get infinite mana and rage and energy, and there's also pulsing raid-wide fire damage that the healers must deal with. I think it's best if casters are up on the balcony where I was. I believe you should be able to heal any of the off tanks as they're positioned over here from the balcony. We can always check that. The melee, you need to stack and stand in one spot so that Veil doesn't cleave you. You'll want to stand on its back foot, not near his front, so you get cleaved, and not near his tail, so you don't take a tail swipe. So just right on their back leg, and that allows the rogues to use their daggers and spam backstab since they have infinite energy. Warriors, you need to macro cleave instead of heroic strike into each attack, so you're not getting the modified threat of using heroic strike, and you can go off during the execute phase. Again, it's very important for melee to stand in one spot because Veil's cleave is a chain cleave. If it hits one person, then it cleaves off of that person again, and it will probably kill the melee group, resulting in a wipe. There's also a debuff that goes out every 10 seconds, and that person turns deadly red, and they get the burning adrenaline debuff. So our assigned spot to blow up burning adrenaline will be over here by this pillar. There should be plenty of room to be out of range of everything. When you get burning adrenaline, you need to run over here as fast as you can and just die. If you end up blowing up in the raid, it'll be a wipe and we'll have to retry. So besides the DPS pulling aggro before a dragon breath, the hardest thing will be the tank swaps. So that means you gotta stay below the second tank when you're doing DPS. Hopefully those second tanks, they can use execute and heroic strike as well as defensive stance to get plenty of threat on Veil. Warlocks, you can use Voidwalker Sacrifice to avoid spell pushbacks, and you could even pop one pre-pool since you get infinite mana. Any players that want to use fire protection potions can help avoid pushbacks or take the pressure off the healers. I guess one other spot we didn't explain, but it's pretty common, is have the main tank Veil just facing the throne. And the other melee DPS, you want to make sure you stand far enough back so you don't get aggro first on Veilstraw. You need to have the main tank do it.
Friends, Nefarious' corruption has taken hold.
So we're just going to watch some of the debuffs as the fight goes on.
I beg you, mortals, flee! Flee before I lose all sense of control. The black fire rages within my heart. I must release it! Flame! Death! Destruction! Cower mortals before the wrath of blood! No! I must fight this!
Okay. 3 minutes until the dragon goes in rage and does 300% damage. There's just a regular flame breath, essence of the red, infinite rage, runic power, energy, focus, mana. You got another stack of flame breath. You really gotta heal the tank through these. Waiting on burning adrenaline to come out before I start the next segment. Okay, here we go. Burning adrenaline. So, 18 seconds. Damage done. I'll reduce health by 5% every second. So here's my health. It's dropping really fast. So about 5 stacks, that's 25%. Alright, kill him. Oh. So 5% a second. About 10 stacks you need to run out if you're melee. We'll call it 8 stacks for melee. Range, you can immediately run out. Okay, next trash needs to be taken very seriously. It's really tough and can cause a lot of extra time on trash, and you don't really get too much loot from trash. So there are 2 of these trash packs that have 7 dragons each. We want to have the Hunter's Kite, the Death Talon Captains, is the big red guy with an aura. Yeah, go ahead. No, let's can I give a different? Oops. There we go. There's our Hunter Kite target. Death Talon Seethers. These will knock the tanks high up into the air and drop threat on them. Flame Scale, they cleave and hit hard. These might be able to be tanked together. And then the Wormkins are casters, and they need to be slept by our druids. So here we only have 1 Wormkin in this pack, and 1 Wormkin in this second pack. So it's a double Flame Scale Seether. So this is different from last week. So we'll have the Hunter pull the Captain. They'll come back down here and kite using Distracting Shot and Arcane Shot, and I don't think they really need to use Aspect of the Cheetah. They can just drop off the ledge once the Captain's over here and run up the other side. Should be pretty easy. And then once they get on the other side, they can come to, yeah, they want to I'm going to drop before the dragon gets in the raid. So we'll just go ahead, run through this, and I can talk about the other guys. You want to have the druids sleep the wormkins, those are caster dragons, and the remaining tanks on the elite dragons, they can be stacked in a corner to be cleaved or single targeted. And the trash can knock the tanks up really high, so it's probably best to do it to either tank them in this room under the balcony or on the top, everybody up there. As long as if we tank them under this part, it'll take a little bit longer for them to get over here, which potentially means more time for a hunter to screw up the kite. Since there's not 2 wormkin this time, we could have druids sleep each thing, and the last thing to be killed is going to be the Death Talon captain. If we can't have a hunter kite the captain, then we would probably kill the captain. I mean, ideally we kill the captain last, because he has too much health to really be killed. He also, I think, does a regeneration. Let me double check on the classic DB. He has Aura of Flames, Mark of Detonation, which is troublesome, range 40 yards, Mark of Detonation. What does this do? I guess it does 650 fire damage. This website isn't the best. Aura Flames does reflect damage, commanding shout. I'm gonna try the WoW wiki. Oh. Death Talon Captain. Let's see what we get. It tells me what they speak and not anything about their abilities. So the classic DB has the abilities, but it doesn't tell you what Mark of Detonation does. So okay, the flame scales knock you up, not the seethers. These guys are tough enough to, oh, he tried to mark me. Did not happen. Too high level for the mark to hit me. Okay, so much for that experiment. Okay, gonna see if the Death Talon Seethers have anything special. We know the Flame Scales do the knock up. Looks like the Seethers get enraged. Okay, so that could be trank shotted. Can the Seethers enrage other people or only themselves? Does enrage make them immune to anything? No. Yeah, I would say the Seethers need to die first, and then the Flame Scales are not that tough to deal with their knockback. Next trash is also really tough. We have the suppression room. So we'll have to assign rogues for roles to disable traps in front of the raid or stay with the raid and disable traps. You'll have the hunters go, the raid will stay back here and wait for the dragons to come to this kill area. This will be the kill area right here. And then the hunters will go up here and they'll mark the targets. You either pull down one elite dragon or a pack of orcs. I believe the packs of orcs come in 2 or 3, so there's a 3-pack of orcs. Ideally, let's see if I can. Alright, so we got him. Still getting stopped. So take him, jump off here. They'll come around to the kill area. So just when you jump off, you want to stay here so they can't target you with a flame strike. The orc packs, you can polymorph 2 of them and kill the other. That's why it's important as a hunter to have marking or assist in the raid. See, so I accidentally pulled an extra dragon, so at that point you'd want to feign death. Have the next hunter come up and pull if you end up pulling more than 1 pack. Go ahead and kill all these guys. On to the next pack. Ideally, you want to clear as many of the elites as you can on the bottom room. So they're patrolling back and forth. What you can do is have a rogue come up here and get this little suppression device. And then the hunter can pull the Death Talon Hatcher guys back from there. Now we're going to make our way across the suppression room floor. Let's see, right about here should be a good... Along this line, you can kind of activate these traps. Keep moving. This is about the line where you want to go, from my experience. So these orcs would hopefully be pulled ahead of time. If not, you can just polymorph them and get into the safe spot up here. The problem with suppression room is there's really quick respawns. So this, in my experience, is the best safe spot. Is this corner right here. This is where I like. Once you get the entire raid here, you can just click on this one suppression target and you should be good. You don't have to clear both of them if you're standing up here. Next thing, you do a repeat with the top. So if I'm a hunter, see, okay, that guy's ran, I'm gonna pull these guys. Polymorph 2 of the taskmasters because they do prayer of healing. Kill them off, AoE the whelps, or actually, ideally you'd want a tank to pick up the whelps. To use Demo Shout and just hold the whelps off to the side because the whelps end up respawning really quickly. Now I need to pull more of them back. I'm going to keep going up here to pull some more of these elite dragons. Shouldn't be too hard to get these 4 or 5. This far enough? What's the range on this? 40 yards? Let's see if I can pull this guy solo. Looks like a good Frogger position. Boom. Got him. So that's 3 suppression devices plus the 1 back in the raid. I imagine one rogue could get both of those, one rogue could get both of these, and the other rogue just stays back with the raid, keeping that suppression device down. That one needs to stay down the whole time. Let's see. Finish this guy. There you go. So I got one more. We need this suppression device down. There we go. So that's pretty much all the elites on this side. With 4 suppression devices. 1, 2, 3, 5 suppression devices. Let's see, do I even need that suppression device if I'm standing here? Yes, you do. What about over here? Can I get out of range here? Not really, no. Gonna knock down these 2 suppression devices again. See what the range is. Okay. So now suppression devices are down. Where does this other one kick in? Right, yep, right at the top of the stairs. Gotta have that one down. Gotta have one rogue on this. Okay, so I haven't killed any of these whelps. Ideally, you let a warrior tank it until they can't anymore, and then you call AoE in the whelps. Now we're ready to move into the corridor before Brute Lord. So I'm deactivating the suppression and going into the safe spot before Brute Lord. It's good to like walk along this line. You should be able to activate these right along here, and you'll be far enough away from these ones on the left. So this is a bad spot to rest. You would ideally want to rest in the alcove before this or the alcove after. Gotta disable all the suppression devices on your way. go ahead and talk about, once you kill all the whelps in the safe spot here, you gotta be very careful about Broodlord's aggro range. He has a huge aggro range, so just stay in this corridor and don't peek out. If you peek out, he'll very likely come and murder you. Also, you'll get close to this suppression device, so you have to stay back in this corner, the back right. Let's talk about Broodlord a little bit. He's untauntable. He needs to be tanked facing wall because he'll do a knockback on the tank. The raid, you're going to run to the door the Broodlord is at and DPS and heal the tank from there. And the tank, you're going to pull him into this far corner, right by this suppression device, this corner here. He also does a mortal strike on the tank, so for that you'd probably want to replace one of your damage debuffs with demoralizing shout and make sure the tank is using a stone scale potion. He also has a knockback mechanic, which is why he needs to be facing the wall, and it drops threat on the current tank. So DPS, you need to stay below the threat level of the second tank. The melee, you can move outside of line of sight to not take damage from the blast wave. He also does a blast wave as well as a cleave. You can have the DPS hold off until about 90 to 80% to play it safe, since there's no rage on this boss. He's a tank and spank, more or less. Yeah, like I said, just DPS, watch your threat. If he does get drop threat on the tank and you take aggro, you need to pop a limited invulnerability and run into the tank spot. After the Broodlord is down, you'll want to clear the rest of the suppression room trash. So now I got all these whelps lined up. We're going to AoE them down, pop the rest of the suppression, and show the position of the fight before we kill them, and go on to the next part. So this suppression gate needs to be covered by rogues. This will be the tanking spot, and here is the raid spot where you can line of sight Broodlord. You should not take AoE in this spot from the blast wave. If you are getting AoE'd for some reason, you can back up some more, and you shouldn't have any of the suppression room gates on you. If you move out a little bit, you'll probably get this one suppression room gate on you. There. So you got to stay off of this square and in these squares. I should have dropped it right on this line. No. You got to move even more further. How about this square? Looks like this square is safe. These three squares are safe. In fact, we could just probably assign a rogue to pop that, but ideally you can just tank him in this corner and use the gate to line of sight the blast wave. This should be far enough away. I'm going to grab him, pull him over to this corner. Go. There's the blast wave. Show a little bit more of the boss. If, for example, this doesn't work, you could even take him further back. Problem with this is now you're kind of line of sighting your healers, and you don't have a good spot to be knocked back into. So yeah, you're going to want to tank him right here in the corner. If something needs to be called on the fly, then we'll have to push down this second suppression gate, or make sure the healers stand right about here. You shouldn't be in the suppression room on these two things, and you should be out of his blast wave. Anything else to show? Not really. It's a tank and spank. So we'll go ahead and clear the rest of the room and explain the next trash, which is more dangerous than some of the bosses here. The Blackwing Technician packs, or Goblin Engineers. They throw dynamite that at seemingly random targets, and will explode the hell out of you for thousands of damage a shot. It's an AoE, so there's kind of two ways to handle it. But you'll want to have on your high stamina and maybe even some FR gear for the grenades and pyroblasts. Let's see. One of the ways to deal with it, you can have all the casters and healers stack in one of the alcoves, and you'll have a warlock get aggro on the technician packs and use life tap, which will, when the healers are healing him, all the healers target him to heal, the technician packs will come into the alcove, and the people will be able to use their AoE while staying out of line of sight. You'll want to probably pull those, because you're going to be kiting the pyromancers, which are also part of the packs, to the back of the suppression room. The hunters are going to be kiting pyromancers. When pool starts, melee, you want to use your single target DPS and don't use any kind of Blood Fury or Blade Fury attacks, because that may have the technician's pack, the technician's grenade you, which can end up killing the entire melee group. Instead, melee, you need to just single target down the warlocks, which will be marked with a skull and an X. Yeah. You gotta be careful about tab targeting the whelps on the second floor, casters and hunters, because if you end up multi-shotting or putting a dot on something down there, it will aggro the entire bottom floor of the suppression room. Right, looks like we got everything cleared up. Let's see. Let's try an alcove test. If I'm right here, don't peek over the alcove. Does not seem like it works like private servers. What about right here? No. So that strategy will not work. If I peek, I'm gonna get AoE'd. So it's best to do a spread strategy for the Blackwing technicians. What else? The warlocks can summon a portal, which will summon fell guards, and the off tanks need to pick those up quickly. The main tanks, you're going to be on the warlocks and possibly any of the Draconoids, Death Talon Overseers. So here's the first pack. It has 2 warlocks and 6 technicians. So you'll have these 2 warlocks get killed first. And then what we'll do is have everybody line up from left to right and try and AoE down the technicians if you're a caster. And then where we'll be tanking the Draconoids, we can take him right at Broodlord's spot for the most part. He should be fine to be tanked there. If there's any fell guards that are picked up, they can be tanked over on the side, on the opposite side of Broodlord. May as well tank the warlocks just right in the door, right to the left side of the door as they come through. So I'm going to go ahead and pull one of the technicians. So we'll go line of sight him right here. Let's knock out the warlocks. They cast a rain of fire. You'll have to move out of that melee. And AoE down the techs. There's two other mobs in the future trash pools. They are the Spellbinder, who does a huge pyroblast and will also sheep. So what we're going to have is the Hunter. We'll pull those using Arcane Shot and Distracting Shot and Aimed Shot to get them all the way in the back. And they can also use these alcoves to try and line of sight their pyroblast and polymorph abilities. Not quite sure how fast the polymorph ability goes off. You may have to scatter shot it. Ideally, you don't want to feign death. If you do get polymorphed, you can call out for a dispel. We'll try and send something back there for you. Again, the first targets are going to be your warlocks. Second targets are the technician. Third target is the Death Talon Overseer. I don't know if we want to explain these yet. We'll explain the Overseers in this next pack. And the final, the lowest priority kill target is a Blackwing Spellbinder. They're immune to spells pretty much and only take melee damage. They're the least threatening mob of the pool. So I'll go ahead and kill one of the warlocks and bring them through. You'll have the one main tank. We'll pick up the Overseer and take him over in Broodlord's corner. Let's see, where's our warlocks? There we go. Technician. After technicians are done, you kill the Overseer, the Spellbinder, quick flame strike attack. What else does he have? He should have a polymorph too. He's not polymorphing. Have to be close. This is the idea: is the Hunter gets off a couple shots, moves out of the flame strike, wing clip him, whatever you need to do. Just keep him on you and off of the healers and the rest of the raid. And at the end, when it looks like the Overseer's dead and there's no more Fel Guards up, just go ahead and bring him back to the raid. Don't feign death, because you want him to keep attacking you and not killing our healers, which have the highest threat. So he's like immune to spells, you can see. Gotta melee him down. He takes like 80% reduced damage in Classic. It's a little bit different. Got one more trash pack before Fire Maw. I'll explain the Overseers after Fire Maw. Kill the warlocks. Got our Spellbinder on us. AoE down the techs. Finally get rid of the Spellbinder. Fire Maw. He does a flame buffet attack. This is a stacking debuff, and you can drop it by running out of line of sight. You want to do this around 5 or 6 stacks. Healers on the active tank, you might be able to heal him inside of the suppression room without needing to get line of sight on the dragon. We're going to have the main tank stand here, and off tank stand here, and the other DPS, you can line of sight Flame Gore in this corner here. It's a very short run to get in, to start DPSing, and then get out of line of sight. Here's where you can bandage up. You need to stay well below the active tank on this fight, because he also casts a wing buffet, which will greatly reduce the tank's threat by a large percent. We're going to have 3 tanks in this. You can do it with 2, but it's safer with 3. So our order would be Laris, Vindraga, Uncle. You want to call out around while you're tanking the boss about 5 seconds before Wing Buffet that the off tank needs to taunt. That will put the off tank's threat matching the main tank's threat. And then after that 3 seconds has passed, the main tank will want to taunt back so they get the Wing Buffet, reducing their threat, and the aggro will snap over to the off tank. At that time, the main tank can go drop their stacks off, and the off tank will be facing the boss into the new off tank corner, and the third tank can fall in here. If there is a miss taunt, then that's where the third tank can come pick it up, while the whichever tank has the highest highest flame buffet stacks can go run out and drop their stuff and bandage. It's important to stay below the second tank's threat, because if Fire Maw turns towards you and breathes on the raid, that'll probably be a wipe, because there's a lot of other damage going out with the flame buffet stacks. Warlocks, you could use your Void Walkers for spell pushback immunity and a damage shield, and spare fire protection potions also can help avoid pushbacks and take pressure off the healers. That's explaining. We explained the trash mobs, we explained the kill order on the trash mobs, we've explained Fire Maw's mechanic. We missed one mechanic, which is you want to make sure all the tanks have on their Onyxia scale cloaks. If you're going to be taunting the boss, you have to have on your cloak. He does a Shadow Flame attack, which will put a deadly debuff on you. Here I'm starting to get the Flame Buffet stacks up. No DPS should get over 7 stacks of Flame Buffet. If you're at 7, you're doing something wrong. You need to start moving out sooner. You want to ideally get out of line of sight at 5 stacks. Anything more than that, and the healers are not going to be able to keep up. Let's see. Here's the Shadow Flame, and there's the Wing Buffet. So that's going to knock me up. Make sure you don't stand on a ledge and evade him. That's pretty important. So you probably want to face him. Let's see. If that ledge has potential to make him evade, it's a problem. Does this ledge make him evade? Doesn't look like it. I could see problems with that ledge potentially. So right here, it shouldn't have. Yeah, that should be out. If the off tank's taking a flame breath, you gotta just try and reposition him so that the off tank is on his hindquarters. That should be in the back half. So right there, before the Wing Buffet goes out, the off tank taunts, the main tank taunts back, and then once the Wing Buffet hits, the main tank can go clear his stacks. That's the whole fight. Just use a limited invulnerability potion if you take aggro. Now let's explain a little bit about the next trash. For this pool, you'll want to have the tanks use a free action potion when you pull this pack. Have these 3 guys just kind of spaced out along the right wall here. You can probably even cleave 2 of them using Blade Flurry and cleave attacks. You could probably cleave 2 of them at a time. I don't think we'll want to do 3. Death Talon Wormguard, our mitigation tank, Findraga, he'll pick him up and come over to this side, and this will be a good spot for him to tank it. Each of these dragons has a special elemental shield. I'll go ahead and explain this. There's spell weaknesses each have, and you need to call those out on voice comms. So for example, if I'm not going to mark one, well, we'll have this one as skull, for example. So you'll see that this one has damage increased from fire. So fire spells like Fireball, Immolate, Searing Pain, well, as long as you're not pulling aggro, Searing Pain will be good for that. So you'd call out Diamond has fire weakness. And let's see, which other ones do we have? We have X has frost weakness. Moon has nature weakness. Skull has frost weakness. So the tanks are going to have to work hard on Skull to keep it off of the frost mages. But these are tauntable. They also have a cleave attack. And the casters, you want to come ready with wands for the damage type your class doesn't naturally have to increase the clear times. And of course the benefit of that is you get better use of your consumables on more bosses. Again, we'll kill the smaller ones first and save the larger one for last. There's another pool later on where you're killing 3 of the larger ones. So we'll need to gauge how much damage they're dealing on our tanks and how our healers are able to keep up with that. If they're not able to keep up with it, we may have to have a hunter kite one of them later on to reduce healing output. It shouldn't be too hard for a hunter to pick it up and use aspect of the pack, run it through the back, and hopefully not through the raid, so it's not cleaving any of our priests down. And I'll iterate again, you want to use a free action potion when you're pulling because they'll do war stomps and it will stun you. This guy, the Death Talon Worm Guard, does the war stomps. The other guys do it cleave. Damage taken from other magic decreased. Okay, we'll just kill it with melee. Got another pack here. We'll pull those guys down here. Let's see, what do we want to do with these technicians? Not really a good thing to do with the technicians. So what we'll say is pull the warlock. We'll have the hunter shoot the spellbinder, right? Have the hunter come up here, shoot the spellbinder, or pick up. He has to be able to pick up the spellbinder. That's going to be tough for this pack. So that's not good. Well, you might be able to pick it up right here. Got to be careful with this one pack on this corner. So if you pick that up, run over here, have the tanks pick up the dragons and the warlocks over here, and then the casters you'll want to spread out along this alcove and AoE down these guys, the techs. Just cast your blizzards, flame strikes, rain of fires. Bring the spellbinder back towards the suppression room and kill the warlocks and the overseer over on this side. It's gonna be a tough pull, just because there's so much lag time in getting the technicians down and getting the warlocks around the corner. And I can see a lot of trouble with this pull. And I don't want to put the entire raid in this alcove. That's not good. See if the tanks can pick up the warlocks, move them to the side. The warlocks tanked on the wall. Dragon can be tanked in the middle, a little bit further away. Well, I think it would be easier or harder to move the dragon. You don't really want to line of sight. Maybe just have the dragon tanked. I'd say, just get the warlocks right here at the bottom of the stairs. Pull the dragon a little bit over to the middle, and then range can AoE the techs around like this line in the floor. Just go pop, pop, pop. Just spread out 8 yards for the technicians. to the next pool. Again, we're right at an hour. It's taken a long time to explain all this. I would say this is going to be the next pull. Probably pop one off, pull them down again. Techs. Those techs are tough because they'll easily kill the melee. So you really gotta wait until the techs are at this corner to start attacking. Somehow the tanks need to pick up the overseers. That's gonna be tough. We got 2 spellbinders in this group. So 1 hunter on each spellbinder, I guess, is the best way to say it. Here we got a warlock to summon a pet. Was able to kill it fast enough. I don't think it'll summon. Just kind of playing around. So again, let's pack next. Check how many spellbinders we got. 1 spellbinder. Warlock. Warlock. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 technicians. Go boom. Aim shot that guy. Running. So able to line of sight it. Have the tank pick up the overseer. Melee DPS kill the warlocks around to this area. Tank bring the overseer to the keg. Hunters take the spellbinder back through the raid. Just can't have the spellbinder using flame strike on the raid. Gotta clear. So yeah, ideally, if the hunter's gonna be coming through here, and everybody that's caster or healer needs to stand, give him a clear path through. Yeah, just stay out of the alcove. Use this side of the room. You can stand from here all the way over here. Got all this room to work with. It's a huge line. There should be plenty of room for everybody. I probably don't want to stand that far back. This will be the kill corner, I guess. Sounds good to me. One last trash pool. We got 2 spellbinders. We'll have Hunter picks it up, runs down here. I want to have the raid come up for this one. Doesn't seem like a bad idea. If you just got this 1 pack left, you can have the raid come up to here. The only problem will be the technicians aren't going to be grouped up really. You could have like 3, 2, 1 pull, hit the spellbinders, and then Say hold DPS, AoE now. Say AoE now, and just boom, boom. Let's see, the tank's got to pick up the warlocks, bring them over here. And another tank probably just needs to tank the overseer. Where would you tank the overseer? Just right where he is. Have the technicians right here. Alright. This pool is 3 big guys. Each of these guys hit really hard. We could try and 3 tank them, or we could have a hunter on one of them, perhaps. Hourglass sand, that's important to use for an example. Here's our Master Elemental Shaper Crix. Again, on this pool, you want to use your free action potions on the pool. They're going to War Stomp you. There's the War Stomps. These guys hit really hard. Might even have to use a stone scale potion if it is getting dicey. So ideally first you want to kill Krizix. He can be mind controlled if you want to teach someone Smelt Elementium. Just spread these guys out further back in the room. You don't want to tank them here because the boss Ebon Rock will patrol here. So probably regroup the raid about here. You can try and stand here, but I just had bad. Here's it might be okay. Well, the only problem with here is that he patrols down in this area. If you stand here. Yeah, if you peek over the wall, you get shadow breath. If you're back a little bit. Should be okay. Not in his patrol path, or not as likely to be in his patrol path as right here. This is Ebon Rock. You want to keep on your Nixia hide cloaks. Raid, you want to hide in the alcove or behind the ramp to not take the shadow breath while Ebon Rock is being pulled. We also need to have a 3 tank taunt order. He has the Ween Buffet mechanic, which knocks back and reduces threat on the main tank by a large percentage. And when you pull Ebon Rock, we'll have the tank pull him to this corner over here and tank him facing this. We'll have the second tank have be in the corner, so he won't be taking the shadow flame breath, but he'll be able to taunt him, and the other 2 tanks won't take the shadow flame breath. This is the position of the 3rd tank. Being directly on the wall requires a little bit more finesse because you might get bounced to the left or the right. You just got to kind of reposition his head so that he's not breathing a fire buff on the other guys. The reason why you taunt swap is because the active tank gets a debuff that heals Ebon Rock for 20,000 when he attacks that target. DPS, you need to stay below the 2nd tank's threat again, or if you pull aggro, be ready to use your limited invulnerability potion. For example, if you get a crit or a Wind Fury proc. If you do pull threat, it's a good chance that Ebon Rock will shadow breath the entire raid and it will be a wipe. So if we wipe, we have to re-clear the suppression room trash. Warlocks, you can use an imp or a succubus if Ebon Rock is immune to fire for DPS. So we've gone over the bigger trash packs and the triangle tanking position. So now we're going to pull Itemrack down and show what it looks like. You can have a hunter pull him down, the tank pick him up, and the hunter can feign death. So there, I got the curse. When damaged, he heals for 1 point. So when that happens, then the next tank needs to pull him. And then I get Shadow of Itemrack. Boom. Move to the other side. Wing Buffet. Shadow Flame. Next tank pulls. Just gotta angle him so that his breath isn't on the other tank. There you go. That's about it. It's a 3-tank fight. If you need a 4th tank, you can always just have a warrior put on a shield. The next one is Flame Gore. You still keep on your Nixia hide cloak. All these dragons do a Shadow Flame attack. You gotta start assigning a hunter trank shot rotation. So say Ibuzi first and Inblade second. He also has a wing buffet mechanic which knocks back and reduces threat by a large percentage. You want to pull him down to the same corner and tank him there to prevent knockback. What you'll do on this fight, instead of taunting during Frenzy, of course you can trank shot Frenzy, but the tank swap happens right before Flame Gore does his wing buffet. So if you see the wing buffet going off, the off tank taunts to take the wing buffet, and then the main tank will immediately get aggro back because the off tank got the large threat reduction. Warlocks, you can use a Succubus for DPS. He'll probably be immune to the firebolt from the imps. So just one tank here, another tank on the side here. Just taunt him when he's about to do wing buffet. There's his enrage that needs to be trank shotted. I haven't seen a wing buffet yet, that's why I'm waiting on killing him. Shadow Flame. Wing buffet. Boom. So you gotta taunt before wing buffet goes off so that you can keep the raid DPS high. He's a free loot pinata here. So Cro-Magnus. Before Cro-Magnus you have 3 Death Talon Worm Guard. You might be able to kite one and tank the other 2. So probably you'd kite the one on the right down and have the raid stand to the left side. Again, these have the nature shield, or nature increased, arcane increased, frost increase. You won't be able to see that on classic, but you'll know which one has more damage because your raid will call it out for you. So you could tank these 2 using a limited invulnerability, using a free action potion on the pool. Let's see what else. I guess just get rid of all this stuff. I don't know why I still have it. Cro-Magnus is a long fight. It's very endurance heavy. You have a lot of dispels, cleanses, and decurses. You want to hand out your hourglass sand to the tanks, hunters, top DPS, and heals. You should tank him near corner so that the breath can be line of sighted. Do not do high damage until after the first breath, so just auto attack and wand. He gets 2 random breaths each week, and each breath can be avoided by getting out of line of sight. Dispels, cleanses, and decurses for Brute Affliction are applied regardless if you are in or out of line of sight. He will also shimmer after every 2 breaths, changing his spell weakness and his skin color. Hunters need to be priority for magic dispels from priests and fell hunters because they will lose mana and not be able to trank shot if they keep that magic debuff too long. It's a blue debuff. You can use the same trank shot rotation on Cro-Magnus as Flame Gore. There's a bronze Brute Affliction, which is only cured by the Hourglass Sand, and that's why the hunters, healers, and tanks need Hourglass Sand Bronze. The active tank also needs a priority decursor, so our mages, Amatsu, and MK Ultra make sure the tank gets dispelled. You can also do it druids, Soupy, and Blanco Diablo. The Black Breath does a dot called Ignite Flesh that can sometimes stack on the tank and may require a tactical tank swap during the fight. There's no use battle resing a tank because they'll never get enough threat to regain aggro. The Frost Breath he does reduces the tank attack speed. No one should be getting hit by that. You want to get out of line of sight earlier rather than later so that the healers can focus on dispelling. If you ever get 5 stacks of Brute Affliction, you will turn into an enemy and the raid will have to kill you. So if you see you have a number of Brute Affliction, use your restorative potion to remove them. DPS, you want to beware of going all out after the Frost Breath because it reduces the tank's attack speed. The Nature Breath will give the tank a dot and reduce his or her armor. All these breaths, again, you can avoid by running around the corner. The last breath is the Time Lapse, which stuns everyone in sight, reduces their aggro, and cuts their HP in half. It's a very tricky breath because you have to organize healers to go in and out of line of sight and heal the tank, or also not take aggro. So as healers, you have to make sure your threat won't beat the tank's threat, which is something healers you normally aren't watching the threat meter, but on this fight you will have to. So again, Cro-Mag can move out of position because someone was stunned from the Bronze Brute Affliction, or because they didn't take the breath and he may run to him. At 20 to 25% health, we need to hold DPS until we call a burn, because if we get a bad breath right when Cro-Mag enrages, it could be death to our tank. Under 20% health, when he enrages, he will still do a frenzy, and that can cause the tank to instantly die unless the hunters are really on top of their trank shot. So we're gonna again hold DPS around 25%, wait for the breath, and then blow them up. It's execute phase after that. So let's go ahead and move Cro-Mag out to the tanking spot.
Too far away.
I prefer tanking Cro-Mag over here. Pick him up, right here, right in the doorway. This is where I like him. Get his. There you go. What's his breaths this week? Nature breath. Reduces my armor. There's his enrage. His horns are glowing. That's where the hunters need to cast strength shot. He's right now nature, and he has frost breath this week. So he should shimmer after the next breath and change his spell vulnerability. There you go. He's now taking extra shadow damage. Oh, I've noticed something there. So if you accidentally click on your hourglass sand while you're stunned, it won't use it. In order to cure yourself of Brute Affliction Bronze, only click it once when you're not stunned. You have to make sure. See, I'm stunned, it didn't use it. You can accidentally use up too many if you spam click your hourglass when you're stunned. There, I was not stunned, and I was able to successfully cleanse my Brute Affliction. Let's go ahead. Boom. Frost Breath. Again. 80% attack reduction. Moving on to Nefarian. I got 3 Paladin belts. Excellent. So we're going to have the raid divided into a left half and a right half. Left half is going to be groups 1 through 4. Right half is going to be groups 5 through 8. Believe the DPS is even in those. So the warriors are going to want to pick up the chromatic dragonkins and just move them to the side a little bit so they're not cleaving everybody. About right here is fine. The other dragons will spawn in the doorway. They have different abilities to them. I think it's the black and red ones do magic damage and can be pretty easily AoE'd. The blue and bronze ones are pretty good to be single targeted. They have a lot of health, but they can be single targeted. And the green ones don't have any meaningful effect. They're pretty worthless. The big guys, like I said, the chromatic dragonkins, need to be pulled off to the side so they're not cleaving the warriors and rogues DPS, the melee DPS. Also, everybody, before the RP starts, you need to put on your Onyxia scale cloaks. If for some reason you don't have a cloak, you can try and line of sight Nefarian behind his throne. There's some people that believe they can get no Shadow Flame debuff by hiding there for a few minutes while he lands. Other key dragonkin to note are blue, are immune to frost, so once the two colors are established on one side, if it's blue on one side, mages, you need to swap to the other side, and if it's black on one side, the warlocks, you need to swap to the other side. Those dragons won't take damage from your spells. Also, what happens during this phase is Nefarian will teleport around as untargetable, and he will cast Shadow Bolt on random raid members. You may be able to line of sight him using these pillars, or you can try and use the inside of these gates to possibly line of sight his Shadow Bolt spam. Another part of the puzzle is to assign a group that's going to be the main tank group, and they will run to the balcony before all the dragonkin are killed, because they need to be ready to pick up Nefarian. After 42 dragonkin are killed, they stop spawning, but everything that is spawned needs to still be killed. And at that point, it gets really chaotic because Nefarian has already landed and there's still dragonkin up. So we need to assign a priest, a shaman in the main tank group because he has the tremor totem, and the warlock with blood pack can also go together to pick up Nefarian in dragon form. Everyone else, you need to finish off the ads quickly and then get into the positions for phase 2 Nefarian. Let's see real quickly. For our positions, we're going to have warlock stacking on diamond around here. We're going to have the healers and casters around here. You probably won't be able to line of sight the fear using this box, but you can use this area. And then the main tank is going to be just tanking him right on top of this crack in the balcony. Yeah, you'll want to, because you don't want to line of sight the healers. You kind of want to get a little bit further out so you don't get line of sighted. And the melee DPS can stand right here. He should be clear of the tail swipe and clear of his frontal cleave or flame breath, shadow breath. I'm not going to go over all the class calls. The mages, you're going to be responsible for decursing the 75% healing debuff. If you're a druid assigned to the main tank, you're more than welcome to cast the decurse to keep the main tank alive. At 25%, we need to slow down DPS so that we can figure out what class call it is and figure out if we decide to push him into his 20% enrage, not enrage, 20% phase 3, or hold off and stop DPS completely besides the main tank. At 20% health, Nef is going to resummon all the dragonkin we killed in the first phase, and they'll run towards the healers probably because they get healing aggro. Mages and warlocks, you'll want to use like limited invulnerability pots to survive that and be able to finish off them.
Let the games.
You can also use the Strat Home Holy Water we told you to pick up so that they will pretty much be blown out of the water with that. So on the left side we have blacks, and so far only black colors. On the right side we have greens. I thought there's supposed to be 2 different colors. Right now maybe it's only 1 color per side. Go ahead and kill. See, they're turning into skeletons. Let's see if I can line of sight his shadow bolt. I think I have to go all the way over here. Let's see what. Oh, he teleported. Where'd he go?
The mortal's courage begins to wane. Now,
Whoa! He's still shooting firebolts, shadow bolts at me. There's his shadow flame. Pick him up, turn his face to the balcony. Gonna move him back a little bit. There you go. Pretty much right there. Keep his middle on that skull bone. That's the best spot for it. See which class call he does, and then we'll bring him down to 20%. There, use your tremor totems. Oof. Direct healing spells deal damage. Whoa! Oh, well, I can't. I don't know. I can't get it to work. Let's bring him down. Alright. So now he's at 20%. He's resurrected all his dragons. You gotta spam Blizzard, Frost Nova. You want hunters to lay their traps, kill him off, and then after he does his class call, go burn him down. That's it. What is any of these? A Maiden Circle. That's a good item. I don't think there's really much to that. Don't really have much else to add after that. Throat's really dry, talking that long. It's pretty lengthy explanation, even longer than my last one. Thought I could make it shorter, more entertaining. Unfortunately not.